Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Podcasting Podcast. And we have a wonderful guest today, Chaz Wolfe. He is a high-performing serial entrepreneur who's on a mission to ignite entrepreneurs to create and live the exceptional life. He's built and purchased and sold multiple seven-figure ventures. And we're going to be talking about that in a moment. He's a dynamic leader, a facilitator, and speaker, and he's helped both domestic and international organizations achieve massive levels of growth in all areas of life. I can't wait to hear your story, Chaz. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
You're so welcome. Okay, so just to get started, I know like many podcasters are also entrepreneurs, and a lot of us want to achieve what you have. And so I know you have a story behind all of what you're doing right now and all of your success. So I want to know, how were you able to build and sell multiple seven-figure ventures? How did this start? What's your passion behind it? And how did you get there?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm kind of a unique bird where it comes from like wanting lots of things kind of all at the same time. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are like that, but I've just not been content with the status quo, with average. And so I've always just wanted more, not because I wasn't grateful for what I had, but because I felt like my potential was still there. You know, I wanted to reach for more and more and more. Right. And so that's really the kind of overall arching mindset, I guess, of really the quote unquote success and failures, you know, that I've had, because it hasn't all been roses, you know, but yeah, buying multiple edible arrangements franchises in my 20s, selling off most of those now, buying and selling multiple pieces of real estate, some super large ones, you know, having multiple new ventures as well as acquired ventures. I get excited about playing the game, you know. And as far as about podcasting, I get that totally. You know, I launched a podcast back in 2022, and within about 2.5 years, we did 500 episodes.
What?
Yeah, craziness. I was recording probably at like our height. I was recording like 4 or 5 a day.
Oh my goodness!
It was wild, and so yeah, I mean, just do the math. Like 500 divided by 2.5 years, like you know, it comes out to about 15 a week.
I'm guessing these are live and unedited. You just kind of went with it, or did you also edit?
Yeah, no, I personally wasn't editing. Okay. I had a team do that. We eventually built our own team to take care of it. But I remember kind of along those lines there, I remember talking to, you know, an editor who we were, you know, like, he's like, how many are you doing now? I'm like, okay, we've been doing 1 a week, but we need to go to 2. And like pretty quickly, I need it to be like 3 a week. And he's like, I appreciate your gumption and your energy, but like to be able to hold that long term, it's just not realistic. Mm-hmm. I was like, dude, I've got 75 ready to be posted right now, and I'm recording at least, you know, 15 a week. And he's like, who are you?
That is amazing. And
now I get the business podcasting thing. Like we turned it into a system. You know what I mean?
That's wild. I love it. I love it. Okay. So we're going to have to talk more about that in a moment too, because that's really cool. So as far as communication is, I like talking about how communication is a really important aspect of podcasting. It's not just getting on the microphone, but like actually sharing our heart and our passion and being able to communicate that well through audio and visual. Sometimes people aren't watching the video, they're just listening. So how do we express that through our audios and what we're saying to them? Are we touching their hearts? So as far as storytelling and communication, and you've been podcasting, how do you feel like communication is such a valuable aspect of being a podcaster, a business owner? Just how do you integrate that in your business?
Yeah, well, first off, I'll tell you, because it sounds like most of your audience are going to be podcasters and they're trying to grow their podcast and that type of a thing, which is amazing. And so we've all had that guest that was just like rough, you know, just hard to get things out of. And like, it just is like, blah, you know?
Right.
And so what I would say to answer your question is basically using that as the opposite type of an example, you know?
Yeah.
Like that person, it's hard to communicate with them. It's hard to pull things out. They're either guarded or they don't know what to say, or you know, their voice inflection, even just their tonality is just not exciting. And there's a lot of elements that go into that. And whether you can see me now or not using my hands, I'm still going to be doing that. I taught sales for many, many years. And it's like I wanted them to be like lively with their human frame, with their voice, but I needed them to be engaged with the conversation. And so, if you can imagine what that really tough conversation was with that podcast guest, that's the opposite of what we're trying to do.
Exactly, trying to make a connection, and so
absolutely. And you can just do that so quickly by one being authentic, which I think is kind of what your angle here is. Like, how do we, without putting on a show, how do we just authentically be ourselves? Which means maybe I share some things about me. Maybe I ask curious questions.
Right.
But a lot of that kind of stems back for me personally with my sales experience. Learning sales, learning the process of sales really is communication. And it's leading another human through a framework that helps them make a good decision. Whether the sale happens or not is neither the point. It's I was able to help another person through a process, and then they were able to make a good decision for themselves. And I was able to serve them in that, And so the communication through that is I'm following a framework, right? I'm using tonality and authority and curiosity and all of these components, tonality, to be able to like lead another human to a place where they go, you know what? I think this might be a good fit for me. Or maybe, you know what? This isn't a good fit for me. And that's okay too.
Right.
Regardless, I'm following a process. I'm using these techniques. Communication is the underlying tone of all of that.
Exactly.
And if I know how to either tell a story or better yet, get curious about their story, that's probably the most important thing. If I get really, really good at asking good questions, and I think a lot of people put that in a category of just asking good questions. Mm-hmm. It's like the way I've taught that for years is just get curious. Okay, so I'm looking here, I'm going, okay, so like I can see that, you're probably in like an in-house room. It looks like you work from home. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. Do you have kids? Do you ever hear them in the background? They ever been on the podcast without knowing that they were on the podcast? That's definitely happened to me. I'm sure within seconds, I could just from your background learn and ask a couple good questions, and we could engage this amazing conversation about our kids, most likely, without it taking much effort. Just need a little curiosity.
Yeah. Just being ourselves and being curious. I love that. Being curious. And that's all it takes. Just a little bit of wonder about what's going on in someone else's life when they come onto your show, when you're interviewing them, or vice versa. It's all about being interested in your guest if you're interviewing someone, or being interested in your clients or potential clients and customers as you're talking to what feels like sometimes in podcasting, talking out into the void. But we're making a connection with people, and we're curious about them and what their passions are, what their pain points are, and addressing those things. So thank you. Yeah, that's what we need to hear. Just the encouragement to be curious and engage in effective communication.
I'll give you just one more tidbit here. There's a book that is well known. It's the number one book on success written to date over 100 plus years ago. It's called Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah,
that author in a lot of his work talks about having a pleasing personality, one that's magnetic, one that draws in people to want to either know more or engage more with you. And that's how you sell things. That's how you grow an audience. That's how you have a great podcast, all these things. And so inside of that, it's really talking about your energy, you as a person. The things that you think about are positive. The things that you do that are servitor towards other people. My outlook on life is abundant and exciting. And so then therefore, I tend to be in a magnetic personality because I want to bring value, right? And so all the things that you were just talking about as far as being curious and wanting to engage, it's like, man, like this is what it means to be successful. And so when you do that on a podcast, and you add value and you get curious and you allow people to tell their story along with you kind of slipping in things about yours. Because as a host, it's not about you, it's about your guest. And giving the opportunity to them actually then shines the light eventually back on you, which is what we learned. That's why we did so many shows, because pretty quickly I learned, I didn't launch it with this intention, but I learned that it wasn't the audience for me that was interested in my mastermind community. It was the person across the screen or across the mic. And because of this magnetic conversation that they were just like, dude, I've never had a conversation like this with someone. Like you're intelligent, you ask good questions, like you've got good energy. Like I was magnetic, right? And so afterwards, I wasn't selling anything. They were just like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I got a lot of businesses, this, that, and the other. And I run this community for entrepreneurs. They're like, really? Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
And we start getting clients simply because of all the stuff that we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Having a conversation and knowing that, that person is just interested in you because you exuded this magnetism and they were drawn to you and your personality and what you brought to the table. So I love that. I love that. Okay, so all the things that you've been doing, you talked about having 4 to 5 episodes per day over the course of a year on your podcast, and that is some consistency. So we talk about
Sure.
consistency a lot, but I've not
Yep.
seen it to this level. So I'm going to want you to share how your mindset was to be able to accomplish this. This is where a lot of podcasters struggle. So how do you do that? Basically, that's my question. How were you consistent to this degree?
Yeah, I think first off, let's start with basics around podcasting, one, and then we'll go over into discipline or maybe even just mindset. But,
Hmm.
I think it's 90% of podcasts don't go past episode 20.
Right.
And then of the remaining 10%, 90% of those don't go past episode 100. And so it's just really not that hard to stand out, right? And I learned that a long time ago with success principles. If you can figure out how to just do the thing that nobody else does,
Hmm.
that's kind of how successful people do it.
Yep.
And so that in itself was interesting to me. Call me a contrarian, call me someone that likes to stir the pot, because if you say it can't be done, I'm like, good, I'm going to do it.
Let
Right.
me try this. Yeah.
And so, exactly, let me try. And so some of that has to, like, if you're going to start a podcast, recognize that, look, you're not going to try this thing. This is something that you're going to put in your life. It can be totally sustainable. Doing one show a week for 3 years or 7 years is totally doable. It doesn't have to take away from your other business or your job or your family. It can totally work in itself. Okay. How you do that consistently, though, is you stay ahead with the right actions. So I've thought about what I want. I've made a plan to get there. And then I consistently follow the actions that I know that I've already predetermined that I need to do in order to be successful. So if I want to do one show a week, okay, great. What that means is that I'm going to be producing roughly 4 a month. Okay, cool. And so I probably want to stay at least 4 weeks ahead, at least. Now for me, it was more than that because I had more that we were doing. We were releasing an episode every single day. And so if you're releasing one a week, for example, and you haven't launched yet, having 4, 5, 6 or so in the hopper already recorded is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then just make sure that you record at least one a week and stay in that rhythm where you've got your 4, 5, 6 in the future. What that gives you is, well, shoot, I'm going to go to St. Lucia next week. We were just talking about this for a second ago. I'm going to take my wife on a beautiful vacation, and I can't record next week. Okay, cool. I've already got that 4, 5, 6 in the future. No big deal. And then guess what? When I come back, I can jump right back to it. Right?
Exactly.
Or what I would do is I would jump back and I would hit 2 just to make sure that I was back to where I was. I've always got that par level in my mind. Right?
Right.
The mindset of this kind of going away from podcasting and just going over here to discipline is I make the decision of what I want, right? I've kind of already framed this up a little bit, but this is more success principles now. I'm going to decide what I want. What's my desire? Okay. What is it that I want? Why am I doing this podcast? And so therefore I've determined what it is that I want. And then therefore I can then create a plan, I guess. And so, okay, I'm going to do what Chaz said here. I'm going to record 4, 5, or 6 of them. I'm going to have them in the hopper. I'm going to record every single one or one every week. When I'm gone, it's no big deal, no pressure. But then I'm going to, I'll get back to it the next week. But I'm going to record every Tuesday, or I'm going to record every Tuesday and Thursday. And I'm going to really create a plan and a system that doesn't allow me to fail. And then I'm just going to do what I said I was going to do. That's the last component of discipline or consistency. If I'm going to desire it and create a plan, why would you not follow through? Why would you not persist? Why would you not be a man or a woman of integrity and do the thing that you said that you were going to do?
That's right.
For me, it was super easy to go, okay, well, if I want, what's the most that I can do? Because that was where I was at. What's the absolute most that I can do? It's like, well, you can record however many times you want a day. We can release a show every single day. Great. How many in the hopper do I need? So it's all a math equation at this point, right? Yeah. How many in the hopper do I need? How many do I need to record every single week to be able to stay ahead? Okay, great. So I'll record, 5 on Mondays, 1 on Tuesday. I'll record another 5 on Wednesday. I'll record 2 on Thursdays because I got other meetings and stuff that I'm doing. On Fridays, I don't record at all. Typically, I'm recording, 10 or 15 a week. Okay, great. That gives me double the amount per week for the episodes that we're doing. And then I just kept doing it because that's what I had said that I was going to do.
I love that. This is a perfect framework. It makes so much sense. It's logical. It's just practical. It's just it's simple, basic, and easy. And we should all just like think about how simple it is that you broke it down. Your framework is make a decision, create a plan, a doable plan. That's a caveat, doable plan, and then do what you say. So simple. And I think if we practice that in almost every area of our lives, not just podcasting, but just
100%.
other areas of our life, we'll be so much more effective and sufficient in what we're doing. But I do have a little question about that work-life balance because you mentioned doable, making sure that what we're deciding to do is something we actually can do. A lot of times we make lofty goals and just feel that we've failed our mission and because we can't keep it up. So as far as work-life balance, you have mentioned that it is a myth. And so I want to just kind of explore what that is because how can we balance our entrepreneurial life with our home life, with our spiritual life, with all these different things we've got going, especially as busy podcasters and business owners. What is the deal with work-life balance?
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you the answer. The word is intention, and then I'll circle back to how we do that.
Okay.
And so balance doesn't exist. Think about it like you are in the ocean and you're trying to catch a wave, right? You do a bunch of work to get out there. You're waiting for the exact appropriate moment. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't. And when it does and you catch, you get right up on there, you're on the wave for about 8 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you fall back off. So it's like that. Balance does not exist. And anybody trying to sell balance probably doesn't have a very exceptional life, would be my guess. Pretty average, or what they've been able to do maybe was given to them. I don't know what their exact story is that they would sell balance because it doesn't exist. Okay. What I have learned is that as a business owner, or a pretty extreme guy, as you can tell from my podcasting style, is that I'm obsessed. I'm all in. If I've made a decision because I've determined that I want it, I've made a plan, I'm going to freaking commit to it, and we're going all in. So what I needed to do was not lower my obsession with business or my podcast or whatever. I needed to increase my obsession with the other areas of my life. So I gave myself permission to not be balanced, to be extremely obsessed. And if I'm going to go all in on a podcast like I just told you I did, cool. What does that look like for my marriage? What does that look like for my kids? What does that look like for my health? What does that look like for my spiritual walk? And all of those things come down to one word. It's intentionality. If I'm going to sit down and I'm going to think about my spiritual life or my marriage or my kids or my whatever area of life we're talking about, and I'm going to give myself a rating, right? We kind of use like a life wheel scenario around this. It's like, maybe I believe I'm a 4 in my business or I'm a 6 in my marriage. Well, why? Okay, cool. Sounds good. And then, well, what makes it a 10? And okay, so here are the 2, 3, 4 things that I feel like maybe I'm not as good at yet, or that I could get better at, or areas of opportunity or improvement for me. Great. And so now I'm going to what? Create a plan. I can start doing those things. I don't have to be perfect today or tomorrow, and I'm not trying to be 6 and then go to 10 tomorrow. What I am trying to do is go, okay, well, I'm a 6 now on this marriage component. And I think that, affirming my wife every day through a text message would be helpful. I think that that would connect us. It would let her know that I've seen something that she's done. I've appreciated her for it, and it would bring deeper connection to us. Okay, cool. So that's one little thing I can do. I'm going to set a reminder on my phone. It pops up on my phone every single day to send an appreciation text. And so for me, what I do, because this is literally a true story, I sit and think about the day before and I go, okay, oh, she was such a good mom when she X, or, she did that one thing for me that I appreciated with the dry cleaning, or whatever. Maybe she wore a sexy outfit. I thought she was fly as a moth. Like, it's just like, I wanted me some, so like whatever it was. That's right. I'm going to communicate it to her.
Yeah.
I'm going to send that text message. And maybe that gets me from a 6 to a 7. Cool. That's winning. And then what's the next thing I can add on? What's the next thing I can add on? Not now, not all at once, but after I've mastered that little thing, and then I can add the next layer, to eventually get to 10. Eventually, shoot, like, what is 10? Then it gets to 11 and 12, or maybe the scale starts over again, we don't stop at 10, right?
Right. I love that you said you don't even start at 10.
Right.
You start where you are. That could be a 2,
100%.
right?
You gotta be honest.
Right. And then you just work your way up. And so breaking those things down into manageable steps and then practicing the art of repetition every day makes it a habit. and a lifestyle. And
100%.
so I love what you're saying. It makes perfect sense. And I think that's what brings us into rhythm rather than
Sure.
balance. So I
Yes.
think there's a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
difference. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we're talking about a lot of different life principles here. And so this is so important for entrepreneurs in general. I want to know a little bit about how you've gotten to where you are as far as your influence. Who's influenced you in making connections and community and being the person you are today?
Yeah.
Who have been some of your biggest influences?
Good question. Well, I would be missing the whole point if I didn't say that my faith has been a huge part of that.
Yeah.
And for me specifically, what that looks like is, I'm a pretty logical individual. And so I remember going to church when I was, 12, 13 years old. And I kind of was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this is what good people do. They go to church, they help people. Like, okay, cool. Like, that's what, following Jesus looked like to me at that time.
Hmm.
But I remember being early in my 20s and really having a heart connect at that time through some experiences that we had. And it was just like, you know what? This is the God of all creation who sees me, and he has a story and a plan for me, and so once I connected on a heart level to that, it's like okay, cool, like there's all kinds of amazing things I get to partner with him on, business and my family and creation and helping other people, and creation meaning I get to create things, and so that's probably number one. Number two would be my wife, because we got married pretty young. We met in high school sweethearts, and we've been married for 17 years, been together for 20.
That's amazing.
And yeah, and we like grew up together, so like coming from a single mom family, obviously my mom's been super influential in my life as far as discipline and like, no, we do the things that we say we're going to do, and no, you're not quitting. And this is called hard work because I work 3 jobs and
Right.
all the things, but taking that into the relationship with my wife, we grew up together thinking, okay, like how can we work together? How can we be on the same team? The way that she thought about money was completely different. She's a saver. I'm a spender. I'm a like, let's put it all to use. Let's get it out on the field. And so together we've really just grown up in a way to where we've been able to truly see each other, appreciate each other. Of course, there's been, rocky moments too, but man, those things have shaped us to not only have just an amazing marriage, but for me on the success side is really what you're asking, like who's influenced all the decisions and the quote unquote success that I've had. That's my wife, because
Wow.
without that component, without that, ultimate mastermind of my marriage,
Yeah.
there'd be just a lot of, selfish ambition, to be honest,
Yeah. Oh, I love your answer because that's the core of who you are and gives you a foundation for who you are now and where you're going. And you just have that groundedness. And so I knew it was family and I knew it was faith, and I just wanted to hear you say it because
Yeah.
that's what oftentimes makes us who we are and
Yeah.
gives us that foundation. So that's
I referenced Think and Grow Rich earlier. Napoleon Hill goes deep on, like, first off, that book in itself probably is been another influential piece, but
yeah,
like he talks about how behind every great man is his spouse, is the woman,
right.
and and in today's, that was written so long ago where it was mostly men in the business world, but today it could be the opposite. It could be a woman who's crushing in business and she has an incredible partner on the backside,
Right.
but it takes 2 to tango is what the point is,
Exactly.
and if that piece, like you're saying, isn't like lockstep and sharp and like healthy, then there's just not really a whole lot of success on the other side. There's people who have those broken elements of marriage and relationship that still have success.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I look at that is like the potential of what it could have been, the success that they could have had was not even nearly reached because of the lack that they had in the home situation. So yeah, I think it's just not only just my opinion, but that goes back to a book written over 100 plus years ago, going like, no, actually, it's like what she does is way more important in my world than almost everything else.
Partnership for partners for life, and
Yeah.
that's what we need. Someone that can give it to us like it is and not sugarcoat it, so that we can become better human beings, better people. And I think that's amazing. And I want to know more about what you do because you do some fabulous things out here, and we want to hear about your projects. I believe there's the exceptional life, and there's a lot more that goes along with that. So just share everything you do and how we can reach you.
Yeah. Yeah, Gathering the Kings is the name of our community, and that community is for entrepreneurs and their families. And so we help entrepreneurs grow their business. Of course, mindset's a big part of that, as we've talked about a lot about here today. We help people grow their marriages. We teach kids entrepreneurship. We have an entire youth entrepreneurship program called Generation Next. We talk about health and faith and lifestyle and all these things we've wrapped up together here on this show, because that's what success is. We're just a group of down-to-earth, family-oriented entrepreneurs who want to win in all areas. Yeah. And if you're listening to this and you're just like, oh, that's me, because that group doesn't exist anywhere else. I know, because I checked. And to have that family component, the business component, the health, like all of it together, is super unique. And we get to do life together. Of course, we're online with our community, and we do live Zoom calls, but we do events too. I was telling you that, in the summertime, we do this huge family vacation. It's called our Family Mastermind, and we're going to be in St. Lucia in June of 2026. It's going to be incredible. We just did one here this past summer in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. Wow. And, kids learning entrepreneurship, and adults working on marriage and parenting, and entrepreneurs from all across the country connecting and helping each other grow. And all the while we get to sit on a beach and a beautiful resort and just live life together. So it's through things like that we're interested in, be able to doing life and supporting each other.
Oh, that's amazing. That sounds so amazing. And it's not just focused on one little aspect of business, but you're talking about business, entrepreneurship, family, marriage, relationships, entrepreneurship for both adults and kids. And so it's like a family thing. I'm 100% really amazed at this. Okay. So how can we find out more? How can we reach you and be a part of what you're doing?
Yeah, gatheringthekings.com is our main website. Take a look at the cool things that we do there. Also, gtkfamilymastermind.com is our landing page where you can get information specifically on that St. Lucia trip if you'd like more in details there. But it is a, by application only, as you can imagine, with families. We take the curation of that environment extremely seriously. My wife and kids are going to be there, so we interview people pretty directly, and want to make sure it's a good fit. So find some information there and take a look at what we do. And if being around other entrepreneur families could be valuable to you, let us know. We'd love to chat with you.
That's perfect. And do you have any last words of encouragement on this episode today for podcasters?
Yeah, what I would say is you have to just believe. And I know that's just don't stop believing, journey, that's not what I mean. Belief or courage in what you're doing, specifically your podcast, sometimes when no one else sees it, is what it takes to be successful. And you might do this podcast for the next year or 10 years. Maybe it's a stepping stone to the next thing. Maybe it blows up. Maybe you've interviewed some incredible guests and it blows up your business. I don't know what the story is going to be for you particularly. But what I'm trying to say is that if it's connected to your belief, which is obviously highly connected to your desire, what you want, the plan we talked about earlier, then just keep going. Believe in yourself, even when no one else does, because all good actions, all good seeds planted will bring a harvest.
Ooh, that was good. That was so good. Thank you so much, Chaz, for being on the show today, for your words of encouragement and wisdom, and for inspiring us to be practical in our everyday lives with our business. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I so appreciate the opportunity.